Candle Enthusiast. I am your host, Shane Carlson, and this is my weekly live stream. We call it Smell It Sunday. And as I said, I want to welcome you and I want to wish you all a very happy new year. I hope your holidays have been festive. I hope they've provided you with a lot of cheer and good old fashioned family time. I'm looking at the mess that's around me, and I want to apologize. And as long as we're talking about my surroundings here for a second, while we're waiting for some folks to come in, I went from Halloween decorations and I didn't take them down. I just kind of threw Christmas on top of it. Look, there's still black leaves right here, some foliage. And now that Christmas is over, I'm just going to start. I'm not going to put away decorations. I'm just going to start layering, is what I'm going to do. All right. So, what are we going to be talking about this week? Well, uh, you know, I've done this several times, but it's one of my favorite things to do. It's my favorite subgenre of fragrances, and that's going to be snow. Snow, oh, snow, let it snow. Yes, this time of year it's a little odd for candles because there's a little bit of candle or candle burning, melting fatigue. Is there not? There is. We went through autumn, all the phases of autumn. We went through Halloween, and then we jumped into Christmas, and we burned so many candles. And although we may be a little bit fatigued and questioning, well, what do we burn now that we're officially in the new year? um, I find that winter candles that are not Christmas or holiday related in any way, like I said, it's one of my favorite subgenres of fragrances. And I thought we would dip into my Yankee Candle Archives, and I pulled out snow themed candles that are, maybe some of them are meant for the holidays, but most of them are just very, just winter-esque. So I have quite a few. I don't know how many we'll get through, but my table is loaded, and we'll jump into it as soon as I pull you folks up, because that is always the first step. I say it's always the first step, yet I'm always late to do it. Hello, everyone in the chat area. I see Adam, Lori, um, Heather, and Rianne. Rian, I'm always saying your name wrong, but I saw your post, your fireworks post for New Year's. I hope you had a fantastic time. Virgil is with us. And John, I see. I missed John. So folks are coming in. Let's just jump right into it. There's a lot to talk about outside of candles as well, because anytime, you start a new year, we all have things, things and in our heads, that new year date, that January 1st, puts everything into perspective, into gear. You can no longer use the excuse, oh, we'll just get through the holidays and then I'll take care of it. We're through the holidays, and now it's time to yeah, to make those necessary changes and to face those necessary battles that we all have. Doing a little bit of candle cleaning. Now, I think this is known to be a holiday candle, but how much more snow themed can you get than Jack Frost? And look at that label, Jack Frost, and then build a snowman. There's been several different forms of Jack Frost and snowmans. Um, but was there ever a better label than this? And why would we change it? I love it. I love it. This was a departure in, the second golden age of Yankee Candle. This is a 2012, meaning, they broke away from the typical window portrait on the label, and I was okay with that. I was okay with that. I don't think you have to be consistent all the time. And beautiful. It has these. What do you call those? When we were a kid, we called them holographs. I know that's not what it is, but this kind of iridescent, or that's not the word I'm looking for. ISO. I can't think of it. Anyway, beautiful portrait of snowman. This lighting is a little bit warm, but then again, it's still warm. But the wax has darkened just a little bit, which is the case with most white candles, or at least the paraffin candles. Let's take a sniff of Jack Frost. If you've never smelled this candle, what would you imagine Jack Frost to smell like? Ah, right there, right there. And I'm tapping my heart, but I do acknowledge that I'm still wearing my Halloween hoodie. I actually wore this to Santa's Village. So, one of my absolute favorite profiles of any kinds of candle uh, is going to be that cooling but still very, very sweet peppermint. And yes, that's simple. I mean, we can say it's got some vanilla, we can say it's got cane sugar, we can be very specific about it. But when it comes down to it, this is just a very familiar smell. This smells like a very sweet, candified peppermint. Not peppermint tea. Uh, I was going to say not peppermint ice cream, but maybe we could go there. This is peppermint swirls without it being too spicy, too tingly on the nostrils, because it's balanced, very much balanced with the sweetness. And the cooling of peppermint brings me to the cold outdoors, the snow specifically. But the sweetness brings a warmth and comfort that brings you right, to your favorite spot on the sofa with your favorite blanket, and you got something hot to drink, and something good is on the TV. You just have one of those peaceful moments. You know what I mean? Like, the phone stops ringing for a moment. Something good's on the TV that's really capturing your attention. You're maybe laughing a bit. I'm going off on a tangent, but this is a comforting moment, is what I'm trying to say. And just like those wonderful moments that you can relax, perhaps on the sofa watching TV, and not feel guilty that you're wasting time. You're enjoying yourself. We need to remember to enjoy yourself, and that's why Jack Frost is here. Jack Frost is here to remind us all that you must treat yourself. You must show yourself a good time every so often. A big, big, big winner for me. Like I said, there's been so many reincarnations of this candle, and also there's so many other peppermint candles that are a little bit more complex, maybe a little bit less sweet. There's a lot to choose from. There's a couple that we'll talk about here. Let's jump into one right now. Why put it off until later? This has nothing to do with the snow candle. I just saw it and I realized, this is one of my favorites, and I haven't talked about it, not this year, probably not in a very long time. And the actual fragrance itself is a very historic one for me, because this candle, um, single-handedly rekindled my relationship with Yankee Candle after a very long time. I had moved, as a lot of you folks know, I had moved to California, Los Angeles and Northern California, San Francisco and Napa Valley, and I lost touch with the Northeast. I lost touch with the holidays. I'm very much, I've lived in several cities in my life, but I'm very much a country person. I rely on the weather to remind me what time of the year it is. And I had just lost touch. But I found this candle on a clearance rack in a Staples in Northern California. And I smelled it and it almost brought me to tears because it reminded me so much of home. And it reminded me how much I missed home. Peppermint bark. All right, all right, you know, not not, this is not like, this is not going to win an award for complexity or even originality, but one, that label, hmm, the label and how, I mean, even right here, after this is aged a bunch of years, how the wax matches that white chocolate on those peppermint bark pieces, and you got those candy canes, that out of focus or soft focus background. That is festive. That is festive. But what does it smell like? Yes, it smells like peppermint, very similar to the peppermint that we find in Jack Frost. But it also smells like, oh, I mean, the power of aroma. This, I just told that little story about that Staples. Why it was at a Staples, I don't know. Staples sold Yankee Candles for a while. Maybe they still do. I don't know. They do actually, I think. Uh, but that just brings me, then way those years ago, it brought me home. Now it's kind of bringing me back to California and that wonderful period of time where I was living in California and I just made a list of all the Yankee candles that I wanted to burn in my home that I was living in. It was a big home, and I'm like, oh man, I'm gonna fill this place with Yankee Candle magic. And I did. I started buying Yankee candles any way I could to build up my collection. And yeah, I just remember that this was very much a part of the rekindling process of me starting to really collect Yankee candles for the first time again. First time again. Yeah, I never really collected them. I had them. I consumed them and I had a lot around me, but I never really considered myself a collector until that moment. What year? This wasn't the candle I actually purchased because I know I finished that one. I still have the jar. This is a 2013. This was around for a bunch of years, or at least several. And I never said what it smelled like. There is that, you know, uh, there is that. It's not necessarily chocolate, but then again, white chocolate isn't really chocolate now, is it? It is. If I had to just on a whim think of how to describe the the white chocolate or chocolate component to this, um, Hershey's cookies and cream bar. You know which one I mean, right? It's that candy bar that even like on a cold day, it still like just melts in the foil wrapper. But it's that really creamy, uh, uh, kind of like the same kind of confection they put on the yogurt. It's not yogurt, but the yogurt covered raisins. It's that sweet confection that's very vanilla forward. It's very vanilla frosting forward, but it's still got a little bit of that cocoa thing, those kind of crunched up little bits and pieces of Oreo cookie, or Oreo chips. And Virgil, thank you very much, buddy, for the super chat. Let's see what Virgil has to say. I wonder if Shanty Claus is still in the. He's still in the car. I'm not kidding. He's still in the car. He's like the one thing I didn't unpack when I got home from Santa's Village. And he's still in the back seat comfortably. Thank you very much, Virgil. Very much appreciate it, sir. And I hope you had a wonderful holiday season. Yeah, there is that kind of chocolate Teddy Graham, chocolate Oreo, you know, ice cream sandwich, like the little biscuits that sandwich the ice cream, the little rectangular ice cream sandwich. There's that little bit of chocolatey, like cookie crumble in here that intensifies, the already sweet peppermint. It's in here. I don't believe it's anything else. I've smelled this so many times that my nose is completely desensitized to it. But really, 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 I think this one could be found online at a affordable price. Do yourself a favor. It's not super, super strong, but this will satisfy, I believe, your needs for a medium-sized room. And this was the second golden age of Yankee Candle. But by that, I mean these it's hard to say in modern day if these candles will stand the test of time, meaning what kind of shelf life they have. But this was a time in Yankee Candle's history where the candles performed so well, and most of them had a fantastic shelf life. It's a If you're investing in older Yankee candles, I know it's tempting to go black band. And if you're a collector, maybe you should go Black Band. But if you're buying older Yankee candles to burn, it's that 2009 to 2014, maybe even 15 time range that you're going to want to look into. And there's some really good fragrances that only existed in that time frame. And you should make yourself aware of those. I've been hearing from several sources that I'm just simply not addressing the comments enough. And I apologize. I'm very much not a multitasker. So if I miss any of your comments, ask it again or, state it again. And I'm going to try to do my best to try to sprinkle in a little bit of what everyone is saying. I love winter candles, except it's spring here in the Hudson Valley, says Heather. It is. And Heather, are you from the Hudson Valley? I'm from the Hudson Valley. I assume you already know that. Um, it is. I was shocked because, after Christmas Eve, I made a big dinner for Christmas Eve, even bigger dinner for Christmas. And, every year what I do is I just cover everything up and I put it out on my back porch because it's so cold out there that everything's safe. But I don't know what day it was. I went out on the back porch. I'm like, I gotta get this stuff like frozen or in the fridge because it is awfully balmy for late December. So I agree. And it's really good because I have like my thermostats really low, so we're not using up fuel to heat the house. Uh, I'm not really complaining about it, at least not yet. Rianne, don't worry, both ways are fine. And yes, I had a great New Year's Eve. I had a birthday party. A birthday. Was it your birthday? Or was it a friend or family? Um, like winter candles. I like winter candles that aren't necessarily Christmas candles, says John. Yes. I think that's, precisely what today was, the idea was all today, what the idea was for today. I don't like peppermint with musk, like twisted peppermint. John says, I don't like peppermint with musk, like twisted peppermint. I could see that. Um, Hello from Finland. Walmart sells crappy Yankee candles. You know what I like at Walmart is I've been Rebecca from the candle community, let's say. She really got me into the better homes and guard. What it It's a kind of phrase that just usually rolls off the tongue, and now I'm getting it all mixed up. Better homes and gardens. Is that yeah? Whatever it is. The brand sold at Walmart, the clamshells. I really like them. They're cheap. They perform really well. You can mix and match. So usually, if I'm at Walmart and I'm going to buy some wax, it's usually in that category. I'm not in the market for Yankee Candle when I'm shopping at Walmart. Mm, peppermint bark. You gotta get into that peppermint bark, Lori. All right. And Heather says I'm in Monroe, so yeah, not far away. All right, let's keep going here. All right, so let's do some black bands. How about it? And this was an interesting duo. What I'm about to show you next. This is obviously an older Yankee Candle. This one's actually only from 2003, 20 years ago, and I'm saying it's only 2003. Um, but check it out. Snow days. Like, that's not sun bleached, that label. Like, that is really, it's not overexposed, it's just blown out. There's so much white to that label. And I love that. And notice how the white wax used to be a bit different. Like, it's less opaque than, let's say, this peppermint bark was. Like, this actually looks like, I don't know, that there's like a white pigment in it, where this just looks like it's translucent to some capacity. But snow days. Now we're staying in the same genre here, and I might as well show the next one before we go into that, because honestly, it's the same candle. I don't know if they just released the same fragrance and two different labels for you to pick and choose from, or maybe perhaps because I never purchased these when they were initially released. Maybe they were different, but age, 20 years has really changed them enough, um, to the point where you really can't recognize the difference. And that's going to be Snow Magic. Same kind of thing. You got the little family of snow people. Let's see if we can get both images here. You got the parents and what appears to be the child. A little bit different color wax, just a little bit, but it looks like a yellowing, so it's probably just patinaed. Uh, I'm going to start using that word patina, even though it's not technically correct, but what else do we call it, right? Um, and yeah, from what I can tell, they're the same fragrance. Now I like it. I like it. It's peppermint, but it's a far more herbal peppermint. We could even go. Maybe we shouldn't say peppermint. Maybe we should just start with spearmint. This is much more of a spearmint herbal thing. It's still sweet, Still very sweet, but you get that much more of that green, like you just sense green when you smell this, because it's so many associations, whether it be like spearmint tea or peppermint tea. What I think of is, it just the image just pops up in my head when I see it, is Wrigley's spearmint gum. Like, that is so associated with my childhood that I can never uh, mistake that smell when I smell it. But when I just smell both, you know, hmm, this is interesting. I'm just gonna stick with that they're the same. There may be a chance one is actually a little bit more peppermint than spearmint, but it's hard. It's hard to tell. And I speculate that this fragrance also existed in a different name at certain periods of time. And that's simply because it's not really a complex fragrance, right? Like, this is not complex enough where it's, this would be recognized as one candle made by Yankee Candle, and may as well just keep going with this thread of continuity here. Um, One that I don't know if it's technically a repackage. It's just they're very much the same, and that is Winterland. Winterland. Like, some of these are going into rare territory here, and you can tell when they're rare because I don't have full ones, right? This one, um, Winterland, and there was another one called North Pole that actually is still around. I think it's still around. I don't know if they released it this year, but it hasn't been long since I've seen it. But there's been a history of lack of performance with some of these minty candles, and Winterland, oof, was definitely one of them. I mean, I still feel the cooling on my eyeballs, right? Like, it's there, but this candle's been burned many times, even though not much is missing. It's been burned many times. You can even see, uh, I've I tried to embed some tea lights in there to revive it because the wick must have conked out at some point. Um, yeah, that's a mess. This is a mess. I am not proud of this candle. It needs some serious, tender, loving care. But I remember when it was new, and it was very fun. It was a very sugary, again, peppermint, spearmint candle, and I adore. I mean, look right here. This backdrop, screensaver, those trees, I love. Often we say snow dusted trees or pines or whatever. Uh, I don't like snow dusted anything. I like snow caked trees. And that's what we have here. Winterland. Has anyone ever heard of some of these? Dale Smith. Dale Smith, Happy New Year, buddy. Wish the family, everyone, a Happy New Year. He's a good friend of mine. Happy New Year, my friend. May this year be the best year of your life. Love the new Santa's Village video. Honestly, Dale, I'm not kidding. Whenever I'm editing a video, I always have like a few people in the back of my mind. Like, I'm saying, oh, they're going to like this moment. Sometimes, it's a family member. I'm like, oh, when they see this, they're going to laugh. But I won't lie. When I was editing, it took a bunch of days to edit this year's Santa's Village video. It was a little bit more run and gun how I filmed it. A lot more handheld stuff, and yeah, a little less professional, a little bit more vlog style. But with that said, Uh, yeah, I had you in the back of my mind when I was filming it, saying I can't wait until Dale sees this. So I hope you enjoyed. You said you enjoyed, and I very much appreciated that. And that brings up a point, folks. What am I trying to say? Um, yeah, I promised Santa's Village video on Christmas morning, and I failed. I failed dramatically. I filmed the whole thing in 4K. I won't take long in explaining this. I filmed the whole video, and if you don't know what I'm talking about, just check it out. Uh, be sure to check out the video. I filmed the whole video in 4K, which is it's not more work, but in editing, it's a lot of extra weight. It's 4 times the extra weight, than a standard high definition video. And my computer it can handle it, and my hard drives can handle it, but it's just a lot. It takes a lot of extra time. It slows things down, and where it really slowed me down is it was like the middle of the night on Christmas Eve, Christmas morning essentially, and I was trying to export this video from Final Cut, the editing software that I use, and I just was having so many problems. And just rendering all of the effects, the color correction, the transitions, all of that, was telling me it was going to be like 5 hours. And I'm like, this is bad. Like I should have planned this better. Um, and there was essentially a problem at every stage of the process of getting it actually on YouTube. Meanwhile, I'm trying to celebrate Christmas Day with my family. So I got to a point on Christmas Day where I'm like, look, this is just not going to be ready. It's going to be a December 26th video. And unfortunately, I think that was I would imagine there was a bunch of disappointment there. But if you haven't seen it, it's still okay to celebrate Christmas now that we're in 2023. Please watch the video. Put it on in the background. It's one of those videos. It's like an hour long, but it covers a lot of territory when it comes to the Santa's Village theme park in Jefferson, New Hampshire. One of the greatest experiences this year. Uh, you know, um, as soon as I left, I was saying to myself, I just can't wait to do this again. Um, you know, a part of me thinks that, there's a lot of YouTubers or vloggers who really focus their content just on visiting Disney parks, whether it be Disney World or Disneyland or any other park on the globe. Um, like I always wondered, like if I was living in that area, could I be a full time or at least mostly, have a big chunk, 75% of my content just be Santa's Village content, like year round, or at least from when they're open, like early summer till New Year's. New Year's is their last. New Year's Eve is their last. It's when they officially go off season until early summer. And I think I could. I think there's enough history there. I think, there's enough activities that change through the seasons. So check out my 2022 Santa's Village Christmas time celebration video. And in the description of that video are all of my other trips to Santa's Village. So you can totally binge out on Santa's Village. Maybe also if there's a snow day coming up in the near future and you just need some binging content, maybe it'd be a good thing to put on then. Remember, the more we watch, the more recognition the videos get, and you know, the happier the folks at Santa's Village are to have me in the park, right? More views equals more exposure. So your view does count. Check it out. Share it with your friends. John says, your video was amazing. It wasn't a failure. The extra day of waiting was worth it. I appreciate that, John. I wish we could have shared that little interaction, correspondence on Christmas Day because I was bummed out, man. I was trying to say like, hey, it's Christmas. Is not a day to be bummed out. But like that was just not a video that I wanted to be late with. But it's there. It'll always be there. Oh my God. Asking great questions. Tony says, did you punch all the numbers on your ticket? I did not. I said in the video that I was going to, and I didn't. Is there going to be an in-between video for Santa's Village? Well, there's a lot of footage. So, yeah, I think so. Um, and like now that like we're in the new year, like it's always sad to let go of I don't know, it seems easier for me to edit when it's not autumn, holiday season, Christmas. Not that there was many video or much content this year uh, and years past for Christmas. Not like the stuff I really want to be doing, but this time of year, there's like you don't have to theme a video to anything, right? So there's no pressure. There's no pressure. I'm like, oh, how do I make this heartwarming for autumn? How do I make this heartwarming for Christmas? My point is that, like I said, there's footage. I don't think it's gonna be like a beautiful video of like beginning, middle, and end. I kind of just filmed, and then I just hardcore like fatigued after 2 days at Santa's Village, and I'm like I can't film anymore. I should have. I'm saying to myself now, I should have plowed through it, but it was after one day of filming my travels and 2 days of filming in the park at Santa's Village, I was glad to be off camera for a while. But I kind of learned a lesson. I got to film no matter what because um, maybe my fatigue would have been maybe it would have made for some entertaining or at least fun content to watch. Um, okay, so confirmation that the video was not too late. It was late. It would have been nice if it was on Christmas Day, Christmas morning, you're having your coffee, you're waiting for the family to wake up, and you're like, Shane's video is up, and you just watch bits and pieces throughout the day. Yeah, I know. Next year, it's going to be done, like early in December, so you can enjoy it the whole month. Try to make that happen. Let's talk about candles. Here's one that's different from the past ones we've been talking about. And this one I picked not because of snow. I picked this one because is there a Yankee Candle, or has there ever been a Yankee Candle New Year's fragrance? Think about that for a second. Is there one that stands out as like that's totally only for New Year's, or that really is a new, like I saved that for New Year's? I can't think of many. I honestly, I can't think. I can think of ones that are good for New Year's Eve or New Year's Day. But this one that I'm holding, as far as I know, was the only candle that was kind of made for New Year's. It was nothing about the candle or the image, maybe, but the way it was marketed, the way it was promoted, the shelf displays, the ads on the websites, all that jazz. There was like a whole accessory line for this one candle, and I I like it. I like it a lot. And this is probably my favorite keyhole label that's ever been released by Yankee Candle since 2006 till current day. If I guess they still make them, this was one that even I think this would have worked no matter what. And I'll explain. All is bright. Now we have a Christmas name, right? Okay, all is bright. And wasn't white wax. This was a very champagne uh, 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 a wash, a champagne wash of color, right? It did have that warm tinge to it. But why is it my favorite keyhole label? Because it's in the shape of a champagne or sparkling wine flute. Come on. And these sparkles, these bubbles, is it the effervescence of sparkling wine? Probably not, right? This looks like, twinkle lights, out of focus, and bokeh, all that jazz, but it like magnifies the beauty of what we see in that perfect glass of sparkling wine, that beautifully aged uh, uh, wine. And for those, who want to geek out a little bit, sparkling wine, true champagne or wine, sparkling wine made in the champagne method, is aged in bottle. It's aged in the bottle. So where does it get this color? And why do so many different champagnes have different colors? Some are clear, some have kind of a rusty color, some are more rosé, and some are like a deep yellow. Well, when you ferment wine, right? Let's say you ferment it in an oak barrel. The the byproducts of fermentation, yeast, okay? So yeast starts eating the sugars in the grape juice, right? And that produces heat, also alcohol, and CO2. The CO2 escapes when you're making wine. It just goes away. And then when there's no more sugar to eat, those yeast die. They fall to the bottom of the barrel. And then you siphon the wine and it goes through a bunch of filtration processes, but it leaves all of the dead yeast on the bottom of the barrel. Now, if you're fermenting a wine inside of a bottle, this is insane. Like, sparkling wine is, and just in case you don't know, it is so much cooler and so much more amazing than people give it credit for. Like true champagne. I'm not talking about like carbonated wine. We're talking about wine made in the champagne method. So when you ferment in the bottle, same thing happens. The yeast eat the sugar, convert it to alcohol, CO2, but the CO2 can't escape because there's a temporary cork in the bottle that's there, and that bottle ages just like you would any other wine. And the longer you age it, there's a whole different series of regulations for different areas and countries in the world. I'm not going to get into that, but the lees, that sediment, the dead yeast cells, stay in the bottle. They stay in the bottle. And when you age a wine on the lees, the expired yeast cells, it gives it this creamy, biscuity, very smooth, round mouth feel, like very opulent feel. Um, it just adds this creaminess. And the longer you age it on its lees, the more golden it becomes. So if you're having a champagne that is very clear, very bright, and lacks color, it's perfectly fine, but it wasn't aged in the bottle for long. If you have, on the other hand, a champagne that's deep gold, you know that it's something that has been in the bottle for a long time because of those expired yeast cells. So when people say the champagne is creamy, it's buttery. Now, butter can come from several different factors, but buttery, biscuity, several different factors go into that quality as well. But especially that super soft mouthfeel with the spark of CO2, it's because it's been aged a long time. So all I'm trying to say there is inside the candle, that was a lot to introduce what's inside the candle. We have, an elementary expression of sparkling wine, but a fun one nonetheless. A deeply bright, a deeply bright tart lemon matched with a very zesty lemon essence. This is a full lemon in the Vitamix, in the blender, in the juicer, zip, zip, zip. You're getting the whole lemon, the little bit of bitterness from the pith, the zestiness from the zest, and the tart citric acid from the juice. And yet it's still creamy, just like those expired yeast cells. When that's sitting and aging with the wine in the bottle, it becomes creamy. And that's where this lemon becomes like this custard. It becomes this, uh, lemon pastry topping, like this, something that we would find like a lemon cake, a lemon loaf cake. What it's glazed with, this sweet, very bright, borderline sour. Get that little razor sharp acidity, but it's matched with the big sweetness that makes it more palatable. And I could go on and on and on about try to, make connections between champagne and the scent of this candle, but I'm not going to go. I've already spent a long time on it. Do I wish that there was some oak barrel in here to kind of match, again, to kind of give a little bit more of the champagne experience? Because although you don't age um, champagne in the bottle, the base can be prepared in an oak barrel. So was there maybe like a little bit of vanilla that I wish that could be in here that would certainly kind of bring it into Chardonnay territory? Yeah, forget about the champagne I just said. But if it was a little bit oaky, maybe it would go into more of a champagne territory. Um, and could it be a little bit more savory? It could, but honestly, it's a winner. It's a winner. And unfortunately, it was just not, I don't think many people found it all that exciting. I don't think there's a huge market for New Year's candles. And it wasn't, to be clear, it wasn't released as a New Year's Eve candle. It was a part of the Christmas collection of whatever year it was. I can't remember. Um, 2016 probably. It was the beverage collection. So obviously there was the attempt to make this sparkling wine. But yeah, if you can find it, as you can see, this one was purchased at an outlet, um, which was just a sign that not a big not a big seller. I think they're still out there. I wouldn't be surprised if I went to an outlet and found one. Boner Jams. Boner Jams. Happy New Year's, buddy. Happy New Year's, everyone. Hope 2023 is amazing for everyone. Shane, what are a few of your goals for the new year? Love the weekly content. Have a great week. Thank you very much. And thank you for your contribution this late afternoon, I suppose. What are some of my goals? Well, that's going to tie into a lot of stuff I wanted to talk about at some point in this video. Maybe I can kind of touch on a few of those things. My life situation, as it was a year ago, 2 years ago, is a lot different. It looks a lot different than it does right now. a lot of things have changed for me. And I've hopped around the country throughout my life, kind of looking for what is the new chapter. Like what am I doing now? You know, I haven't moved too much, but I've been in a lot of different areas, um, thinking that it was going to be long term, and it ended up, not being that. Since 2016, I've been back in my hometown, the town that I grew up in. And I think it is time. I think my life has given me enough hints that it is time that it is time for another change of locations. And this is something that is not a drastic decision. This is, or I shouldn't say drastic. I should say wasn't a quick decision. This is something that's been building for a long time. Um, as you may have noticed over the past couple of years, every now and then there's a video that I post that pops up from the Seattle area in Washington. And yeah, I've just been kind of playing with this idea of a long time of like, what if I did the West Coast again? Just different than what I've done. I've done Los Angeles, I've done, again, like San Francisco, Napa Valley. What if I did more Pacific Northwest? I've made many trips out there in the past couple of years, and I've spent some hardcore quality time, mainly in the Seattle area. And it really speaks to me. It speaks to me in a way that no other place has. And I think there's a lot for me there. And as much as it pains me, I don't really want to leave the New England area, even though I'm not really in New England, the Northeast. And I've been reading so much Stephen King recently, and all of his books take place in like Maine, New Hampshire, Vermont, Massachusetts. That I feel very grounded to this area, but at the same time, I know it's like it's time for another chapter. It's time to move. So what are my goals? My goals for this year are to accommodate this transition. Uh, I have a lot of things. I'm not saying I own a lot of valuable things, but and I'm not a hoarder either. I stick by that. I am an archivist at heart, meaning I love the physical representation of something that can tell the story, can shed light on the history of certain topics, you know, um, whether it be photos, documentation of things. I like the mentality I've always had is like, how can you how can you curate certain items and tell somebody's story? And I think, the Yankee Candle collection was kind of the epitome of that. But my point is, I've managed to collect a lot of things, and I can't move. I can't really start a new chapter in my life with a lot of things. It's a very dangerous situation to put yourself in when you own a lot of things that you're absolutely in love with. It does kind of ground you to, or root you to where you are, because moving it is very difficult. And I've moved with Yankee Candles before, and it was not fun. It was a lot of stress involved. And it just pains me to think about, if I move, or at least transition, am I really going to attempt to move my candles with me? Um, I mean, we're talking about 1,000 more or less collectible Yankee candles that, again, try to move my hand in the right direction, illustrate Yankee Candle's history, you know, all of my Halloweens, all of my autumns. On top, we have Christmas, and then, miscellaneous of fruits and spring and summertime, and even more miscellaneous on the bottom. A lot of these items, they're not necessarily even great items to burn or to own, but as I said, they tell the story of the company. So I would suppose the biggest thing that I have to say as far as my goal for this year is to really come to terms. This I'm about to say this, and this hasn't been easy on my heart. But it is time to pass on my candle collection. I would love nothing more for it all to stay together and go to a new home. But realistically, I don't know if something like that would be possible. So I have really been playing with how I'm going to do this, how I'm going to go about unloading the candle collection. Um, and it's a long shot. What I would love to do, what would, you know, despite the dangers involved, I would love to, if Yankee Candle, especially the Yankee Candle Village, could take on the candles on loan. You know what I mean? Like, you go to a museum and not everything in the museum is owned by the museum. There's pieces on loan. If they could somehow go to Yankee Candle, I'm sure they just wouldn't want everything. They would want certain selections, and they wouldn't want anything. But that would be the dream, to have maybe like a small section of the Yankee Candle Village display uh, my candles. I think they could really use a candle museum, like a real candle of like they have candle museum, but it's not a museum of Yankee Candle. The history of the company. Um, that would be wonderful, but most likely that won't happen. So there will be updates on candle sales and just yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I have a lot of options in my head, but I still don't know what's the best way to go about it. It's a sad thing. It's a sad thing, but trust me, I'm at peace with it. I really am. I if I had to walk away from them right now in this moment, you know, I think I'd be okay. I felt like I did something. It was a part of my life. I built this physical representation of the history of the company, and you know, you can't take things with you. You can only enjoy them as much as you can, and yeah, I think that yeah, I think a lot of the candles in this collection would make a lot of people, certain collectors, very happy. So I think that is a little bit of a goal, wouldn't you say? To answer your question, Boner Jams. Thank you for your contribution. Um, yeah, so I'm reading a couple of folks kind of surprised. Yeah, I know. I'm surprised too. But really, what else do I do? What? Am I going to spend like 5 grand? It wouldn't cost that much. But would I spend 5 grand to move these across country? And then what if I move again? Can't do that. And I'm not going to put them in a storage unit. I don't like the conditions of a storage unit for one, even the temperature controlled ones. But I mean, if they're in a storage unit, it's just like the precursor. Anything goes into a storage unit most of the time. It's a precursor for I'm good. I'm these things are going to be thrown out, but not yet, right? How many things have you put into storage only to come and realize, like, I just need to get rid of this? All right, let's do another candle because I've been talking like a madman. A part of the Winter Wonderland collection of 2014. Um, this was the first and the original one that I bought. This collector's edition. Forgetting now, was there 6 or 7 in this collection? All of them had these really fun snowflakes that wrapped around the entire jar, not just the label, but wrapped around the entire jar. And honestly, I don't even know how they did that. That's not a sticker. Like, that's etched, or is it a sticker? It's like etched on the glass. These are the things that don't happen anymore. Snow is glistening, right? Same concept as a lot of them that I'm showing. Not the concept, fragrance, but the label, right? This, blue sky, icy, snowy branches. It's just, to me, I see an image like this and it makes me so happy. But if you look really close, right? Look at that blue sky. Is that a snowflake within a snowflake, or a snowflake within snow-covered trees? I think so, right? Labels. Uh, labels. That used to be very fun. Snow is glistening. What does it smell like, though? All right, so if you are a fan of, I think I have it here, I do, sparkling snow. We've talked about this several times over the past season. This has a brighter lavender bergamot thing, but still very much in a fabric softener territory. This is even more so. Like, this has like fabric softener, like dryer sheet written on it. And if I had to choose one, I think it smells kind of like Bounty. Um, or not Bounty, that's the paper towel. Bounce. That's the one I was going for. Yeah, I mean, it's great. If you're into like the clean cotton, if you're into lavender and lemon, it's an herbal, floral, a very warm, cozy scent. If something like warm cashmere or hot blanket, hot blanket doesn't sound good. Why doesn't a hot blanket sound good? Warm blanket sounds great, but if you say hot blanket, I just think of like, I don't know, like a hot summer night and just like roasting underneath the blankets. I don't know. Yeah, if those fabric softener country home laundry room thing is your deal, you can even start going into the territory of spa or zen, tranquil, this meditative subgenre of fragrances. That's where this is going to go. And I'm saying all of this as like, it's not my thing. It typically isn't my thing. But I do believe there is a time and a place for something like this. I think something like this could be such a great way to switch things up if you're not typically this kind of person. January is the best time for it. You have like these balmy days that we're experiencing here in New England, but sooner or later, one morning I'm going to wake up and I didn't check the weather forecast, and it's white as far as the eye can see through my bedroom windows. And maybe this is the perfect time to break this out, to really change up the pace. Just because it's the fabric softener smell, it's floor, doesn't mean all of these scents are super strong. You got to size them out, right? You got to burn the candle and determine in your home, in your living space, what is the appropriate space. If it's too strong in a bedroom, great. Bring it out to the living room. If it's not doing what you need in the living room, maybe it's a good sign to bring it into the bedroom or into the bathroom. where you can maybe take a nice hot bath, open the drapes if you got a window in the bathroom, um, and enjoy this candle. And if you want it, there's a nice citrus component to this, but if you really wanted to burn something along with it to mix it up, you could definitely go into a chocolate territory, or I would say a heavier citrusy or berry fruit territory. Like if you had a nice tart raspberry cranberry to go with this, it's going to contrast the warmth, the the kind of yeah, just the overall, it's a low frequency candle, is what I mean. Try to think of it that way. It's very opulent in its aroma profile, but having something with a higher tinge, brighter, something to bring it, a little bit of the higher frequencies would really go well with this candle. I love the idea of the fruit, red fruit, because you have this beautiful baby blue. Throw in some cranberry or raspberry or pomegranate, mulberry, um, and yeah, you have yourself a merry little holiday. Snow is glistening. Winter Wonderland Collection 2014. Now, here's something that's interesting. This is not the same candle. This was Snow is Glistening, right? I was in a Yankee Candle shop, an outlet, but this was when Yankee Candle outlets, you know, I'll say something. Yankee Candle outlets used to be a place where you could buy candles that just weren't popular sellers. Maybe the label was scrunched, it wasn't put on the jar appropriately, or, for numerous reasons. And every now and then, actually, not every now and then, let's be realistic, there was back in the day a lot of problems with the candles on the shelves. It wasn't just the color of the wax. Sometimes you would have like the wrong scent poured into a jar. Again, there's a lot of ways for the candles to be wrong, but more or less, if you really smelled them and made sure, like, okay, the label's screwed up on this one. So it's not anything wrong with the wax itself. It's just cosmetically, it's not great. But I find current day, if I go to Yankee Candle, like a Yankee Candle outlet, like they're just all messed up. Like they're just messed up and in like big ways. And I can't say that in the past 2 years, let's say, I've been to many outlets, but I've been to at least 8, and it just seems like, oh my God, like these literally just don't look good. Like they look like they've been sitting here undusted, faded from the sun. The wax is separating, the wax is shrinking and shriveling. Um, um, a Yankee Candle manager once called it. This is the only reason why I'm repeating it, but Yankee Candle cellulite is when that wax just has that dimpled effect. And yeah, I'm not. It makes me not very excited to go into Yankee Candle outlets these days. Now, I'm not speaking of all Yankee Candle outlets because I know there's some that um, are really true hotspots. For whatever reason, Yankee Candle sends like some of the best stuff to certain places. I'm just saying things are a bit different. So all of that to say this was when things were a little bit better in Yankee Candle outlets, and here we go. We got those snowflakes. We have that baby blue wax. So snow is glistening, right? But if we turn it around, wait, what? Season of Peace, which, if we don't know, is very much a white candle and a very, very unique scent. And we'll talk about that in just a little bit. Um, uh, Same category, Snow is Glistening, a Season of Peace, but no one could mistake the aroma. So what happened here? I bought this sheerly. I bought this solely for the novelty of it. And if that wasn't messed up enough, it smells like chocolate. It smells like chocolate, folks. Like there's some kind of fabric softener in the background. I mean, I just can't. I mean, maybe it is Snow is Glistening. I mean, it's more Snow is Glistening than Season of Peace. So we have a messed up, or they messed up the label. They messed up the fragrance, but they also put chocolate in it as well. I had to get this. I had to get it, and it truly was a one of a kind. Like there was no other ones. Um, and to be honest, hey, I just said it. I said if you want to take Snow is Glistening and maybe put a like a hot cocoa or a chocolate play on this, it'd be interesting. Well, Yankee took the words right out of me, or the idea out of my mind, because that's what this is. It's a little bit weird to just smell it all at once. But, when this is airborne and it fills your space, I think this actually could be quite pleasant, which brings up a really fun um, idea that I've always had about, you know, um, going to these outlets and finding the candles that do have like the messed up fragrance every now and then, and this is the case. You find something wild enough where like that is interesting. You know, really fancy candle companies probably wouldn't do fabric softener and chocolate. The too fancy, the too fancy. But Yankee Candle is fun, right? Like we can still have fun. If we want to do chocolate and fabric softener, yeah. There was a time and a place where Yankee Candle would do that, do such a thing. Um, and I think that's what you know, really made Yankee Candle unique was their ability to still have fun uh, with their fragrances. And there was a couple of misfires, like the Man Collection, just bad news with the Man Collection. But anyway, um, how fun would it be just to take at a random, just complete randomness? You just took popular fragrances and you blended them together, but didn't tell people, and you smelled them, and you're like, no, that's no good. But every now and then you get one. I'm like, that's really good. Um, you know, like they have, of course, Yankee Candle had the swirl candles. They always manage a way to combine fragrances, but as it has the potential to be a hot mess. But if they could really just actually fuse the fragrances of certain candles together, I've always talked about, uh, you know, black magic and oh god, I'm forgetting black magic and gingerbread Christmas and a Halloween candle. That could totally be a thing, right? Blend them together. Um, Not a swirl, like not go for this novelty of a swirl, but actually just. I think there would be a way to market candles of a line of candles. Like, would you want sugar cookie, Christmas cookie, mixed with balsam and cedar? One's kind of up here, one's here. But if it were possible, if it was kind of balanced, right? I don't know. Maybe I'm making too much of this. So, yeah, that candle is special. It's kind of like my misprint candle. I have several of those. But let's talk about Season of Peace. That label, I mean, what? I mean, what? Like, really? How? There's no substitution. Um, you know, I just remember this candle making such an impact on me, like to the point where in my mind, my own recollection, I have like this fantasy dream of a Christmas morning, a Christmas morning where I'm in a log cabin that I purchased and I'm having a family Christmas. I'm having people over and it's that classic Christmas special situation where like little Timmy or Susie who's off to college or just they're newlyweds and they just got married, but the snow is preventing the family from all getting together, but magically they show up anyway on like a snowmobile and little Susie's home for Christmas. Well, my dream is kind of that scenario, and what's very weird is this image almost took out of my own brain the image from the front porch of that fictional log cabin. Like I can almost see the eave of the house, the awning, the coffee in my hand, and this is just that driveway. Um, and I don't know. It's just it's a beautiful photo. It's so thought provoking. I don't know. I mean, I suppose you could say it's very stock photo-ish. It works for Yankee. It works for Yankee, but I would admit for other candle companies, a label that's beautiful but as generic as this probably wouldn't work. But what does it smell like? Oh man, so fabric softener. But let's really try to encapsulate this. So we have, what is fabric softener? Fabric softener is musky, like powdery musk, floral with citrus zest is still citrus, but like a little zesty, a little bit tart. The citrus and floral and musk. Well, excuse the musk for a second. Floral and citrus in the fragrance industry illustrates clean, crisp air. I'm sorry, my nose is a little congested. Um, it's just one of those things. You mix citrus and floral together, so there is that. The muskiness brings it into fabric softener territory, but there's a big cedar wood component here that really expands this, uh, makes it much more broad than just a simple fabric softener candle. I said that with such disdain. Nothing wrong with fabric softener candle, but the I said cedar wood, but and I want to stick with that, but really it's probably listed in the notes as sandalwood. What is typically the difference? Like how is sandalwood different than any other kind of wood? It is tip it I'm not going to explain why, but sandalwood has more of an ornamental wooden piece of furniture smell. Better than that, sandalwood just smells like wood, but in a cologne way, right? Like it smells like cologne. And like honestly, this would be a wonderful winter cologne as long as it wasn't too strong for man or woman. And the reason why I'm saying man or woman is because I love when patchouli is in a perfume. And we got patchouli here. There's some earthy going on here. There's some earthy, and that citrus note is uh, in the realm of bergamot. So you get the citrus for the fabric softener, but the bergamot kind of also makes this cologne, brings it in a cologne direction. So it's this teeter-totter between cologne, fabric softener, cologne, and it kind of meets right here in a very successful place. because this doesn't just smell like, it smells like a man's closet or a man's bathroom, like a bachelor pad. It does have, it's reminiscent of, um, I would say both masculine and feminine, but mainly masculine. But it still works for home fragrance. This is a strong candle. It really includes so many of the categories. You know, some that might be a far stretch are spice and herbal, but everything else is in here. This is still very sweet. This is wooden. This is earthy. Dare I say, mineral forward. There's a minerality, earthiness here, like wet stone. Uh, it's a big statement, this candle, and it was a very popular candle in outlets because of that. I just don't think it was popular because this is you're smelling like, you know, fruity tooty, fresh and fruity candles on the shelf, and then you come across this, you're smelling like Christmas cookie, and you're smelling, snow covered or snow dusted pines. And then you come across this and you're like, whoa, that's too intense. But you have to gauge that in your mind, right? Like it doesn't necessarily have to be intense when you're burning it. It's just one of those candles. You stick your nose in there, it's making a huge, huge statement. Um, we don't take a fine cologne, right, and smell it up like to the bottle like this and be like, ooh, that's too strong. No, you just use it in moderation. Season of peace. The fragrance notes on this thing is insane. Let's see. I'll give it a couple of moments to see if I can find it. But if I can't, we'll move on. This is my fragrance finder. All Yankee Candle employees used to have this at their disposal. And it may not even be in here. Oh, there's some really good snow candles in here. Sugared apple. I didn't grab sugared apple. That's one that should be on the table right now. Snow is glistening. I should always have this out. I just don't think it's in here. But let's just do, how about we just, you read Snow is Glistening. Snow is Glistening was the baby blue one with the blue sky. Because again, this is not stuff that you would necessarily, the fragrance notes are on the websites. They're a little bit more, I hate to say it, but like dumbed down, right? The goal with the fragrance notes is for you to be able to imagine what it is. Less of like, this is the way they used to be when it wasn't a public knowledge. These are more of like recipes, right? So they're much more in depth and complex and a little less whimsical. Lemon ice, crisp ozone. Lemon ice, crisp ozone, bright orange, and lily of the valley. So that musky from the lily of the valley, that like rosy musk, and the citrus, lemon ice, bright orange. Like I said, those two components right there make that fresh air. But what else? There's more floral. Lavender, iris, violet leaf, frosted jasmine, the warmth. Oh, cool. All right. Bottom notes. Clove bud, white musk, and vanilla. The clove was the one. Clove? That's the trademark Candle Enthusiast sniff sniff thing. I don't get clove. I don't get much of any spice. I'm not saying it's not there, but definitely the floral, citrus, musky territory. I wish I had the Season of Peace. I have the fragrance notes written down somewhere. All right. I need to look at the comments, but we've actually we've covered quite a bit already. me just, let's see. All right, we're actually doing really good. Giving Dale says, giving up your physical possession of your candles is in no way diminishes your love of candles. Yeah, right? Thank you for that. But also, you know, I very much feel that. Um, and okay, good. A lot of people or folks are surprised by the move, the transition of locations and the selling of the candles. Um, yeah, I have a feeling it's going to be something that's going to come up a lot. Something that's going to make this year, at least the first half of this year, quite unique. All right, here's one. Ah, man, you know, this is one up until recently has always been on my radar because I wanted one brand new. Um, I believe this was 2015, 2014. Apologies. Uh, it was a part of a trio. I'm forgetting the format were the tall single wick tumblers with non-paraffin, like the vegetable wax. I'm just forgetting what they are. I like one was balsam something. It was green, and one was white or red. Maybe it was red. I can't remember them, but it was a trio. And then like the year after, there was another trio, but they changed some of the scents. And it didn't go to Yankee Candle retail. I think it went to Bed Bath and Beyond. But anyway, in 2014, this was released. It may have come in medium and small sizes. I can't remember, but it didn't. It never came in the house warmer jar. And this one, magic. It's amazing how some of the best Yankee candles, the best scents that they've ever put out, ever, are ones that were massive failures. Or maybe not, I shouldn't say failures, but this didn't last a long time. Crisp Morning Air, 2015. 2015. What happened? Like magic in a jar, gone. Um, um, there was a Christmas one up there that I talked about a couple weeks ago. Can't remember what it was. It was a red UK exclusive. Never made it to the US. Well, without delaying this further, Snow Dusted Woods. This was when, like, I was okay with the tumblers. Um, like, this was a fun change of pace. It actually made me feel less guilty for burning the tumbler. Because way back then, 2014, like I didn't want to. I only wanted house warmers, the jars in my collection, but the tumblers I would burn, and I did. But it had this beautiful sandy brown, like the lightest of milk chocolate colors, with the white painted bottom, the decals of the trees, the deer, the stars, the solar system is on this tumbler. Um, and then you got that beautiful color that comes through. Like this was just a home run. The green and the red may have been nice as well. I try to remember one was like a fruity berry, one was a pine, but this one, magic. And it's very rare to come and to find a Yankee Candle in this category. What does it smell like? I almost just wanted to swear. I was almost going to curse, something I've never done on this channel, because this is so darn good. Snow Dusted Woods. Um, there is that biomass of Douglas fir. So incense, the little cabins, the little cones, like, right? Like they're what they have is essentially pulverized, powdered biomass. Everything from certain kinds of trees. Usually it's like a balsam fir, at least it's, or Douglas fir, at least they're promoted that way. You know, you have like this powder form and then they compress it. They compress it and make like, you know, the same way they would make a pill. You have a very highly concentrated smell of a tree. And, ooh, it is wooden. It is sweet. It is herbal. It's so good. It's non obtrusive. Like, you could bring this into a territory of like too much wood, too much sandalwood, for example, where it'd be like, ugh, it's kind of a little bit too clawing. But this still seems so friendly. And there's a sweetness, like a sweet pine. Like if you were to take um like simple syrup and like blue spruce needles and like make a cocktail, right? Like just infused a cocktail with like a blue spruce and cedar for days. So, but what's interesting is, what does that bring to my mind? You know, I don't want to start saying that this is smoky. It's, you know, there may be a touch of smoke, but it's really the associations that we have with the cedar. We smell cedar, we think of firewood, we think of incense, we think of burning the incense, and my mind has a tendency to go there. Like, we have like this land of Narnia, like you know, the snow-covered forest in The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. And, you know, you have all the wildlife, but somewhere on this, missing on this tumbler, is a little chapel. It's quiet, and there's a mass going on, and there's some incense burning. And it's just that beautiful smoke, that sweet aromatic smoke that is just mingling, dancing in the background, um, with all of these other wonderful aromatic qualities that we'd find in a cold forest. It's just a good candle. It's a really good candle. It's thought provoking. It's transportive. You know, like I've been reading a whole lot this year. I've I don't know. I've rekindled my love of reading, and I can think of so many wonderful books to burn with this, you know, just to burn, put a little kiss, a little touch of aromatic experience on a quiet evening reading a novel that this works with. Snow Dusted Woods. Look for it, because I'm not looking for it anymore. Um, I'm willing to say that. You know, before I would say, "Oh, you'll never find this," knowing in my mind it'll pop up on eBay one of these days. But yeah, I'm not going to be investing in candles any longer. My complexion. I just said my complexion has been complete. My collection has been complete for a long time, but you know, I'm finally putting the cap on the scenario and saying no more, no more. Snow Dusted Woods. You know, maybe it's going to come down to me selling a lot of these. Maybe I should, like, I feel weird signing a candle, but maybe I should sign a few and raise some funds, because moving across country, not cheap. just in case anyone hasn't done it recently. Boner jams, another contribution. You need to make sure you come back at the end of August for the unveiling of the Halloween collection at the flagship store. That's going to be interesting, right? Like, if I do spread my wings, if I do find myself in the Pacific Northwest uh, permanently, or at least for a long stretch, how or when am I going to be back in New England? I have family here, so I need to be back here, um, and my parents' house is something that, at least as of now, is not being sold. So there there certainly will be things that I need to be back in this area for. So yeah, perhaps the end of August, you know, maybe we can do some fun. Like, what if I found another candle personality to do like a live stream at the Yankee Candle Village for their Halloween release party? So they did a live stream while I was reacting to everything on that live. You know, I think there are going to be some fun, clever ways to make sure that I don't miss out on things and still get the videos done. But of course, I'd like to be home for the Halloween release party. But might be nicer to be home for Halloween or Thanksgiving time, early Christmas. We'll see. Only time will tell. But thank you. Can I call you Jams? Something about saying boner jams over and over again seems wrong, but I'm going to call you Jams from now on. I think that's a good name, and I want to thank you for your contribution today. Super chat, folks. There's a way to contribute to this channel, um, and I want to thank all of the folks who pledge on a monthly basis. You know who you are, and they're also the ones who, a lot of them, appear at the end of my edited videos. But also for the folks who um, contribute during the live streams, the super chat, very much appreciate. I try to get as many people who contributed in the past couple months on the tail end of the Santa's Village videos, kind of like a thank you. But I have a feeling I could have missed a bunch of folks. So if I missed you, I apologize. And reach out to me, and I'll be happy to thank you at a later time on another video. It just hit me. But how is there going to be a Smell It Sunday without candles? Well, there will be candles, I believe. I think. Depends. I've always been torn with what direction is this channel going in, right? I started it off as like you know, it's all about candles. I really wanted to be as in depth about candles as possible, but it quickly became something else. And I'm not opposed to anything, but I think a problem that I've always had with the channel is lack of consistency. It's all over the board, and I think that's fine. I like doing that, but that's why I've always had attempts of secondary channels. I've had 3 channels at one point. Um, Trying to separate candle content from travel content, even just like silly edited videos. So uh, I'm sure there will be time without candles in the future, but just because I don't own candles won't mean that I won't have access to candles. I think something that would be very healthy for the growth of the channel. It's always been, if I just talked about Bath and Body Works, if I did like 1 month of Bath and Body Works, the way I did Yankee Candle several years ago, like the subscriber count would triple because there's so many more folks engaged in candle content with things like Bath and Body Works and Homeworks candles. Goose Creek is super hot right now. Um, what else am I missing? Kringle is like went from here to here to here in the past like 2 years. It's amazing how like Kringle is no longer like a you know like a secret among candle enthusiasts. Like it's big. It's big. Like there are non-candle collectors, non-candle burners who are collecting Halloween Kringle candles exclusively. It's just insane. It's dipped into a territory that that is very exciting to a lot of folks. So although it's not a secret anymore, they're just as good as they always have been. But yeah, I don't think we'll say goodbye to candles completely. I'll tell you for one thing, I will not. I have no plans on dropping the name the Candle Enthusiast. Like, just short of putting it on my tombstone one day. Like, that name is going to stick with me for a long time. I'm saying I'm not going to put it on my tombstone, but like, other than that, that name is going to stick with me. And I'm happy with that. I'm happy with that. Dibs on the Holy Grail Halloween. So obviously that comes to mind. We're talking, if we do sell my candle collection, what's going to happen to some of the big ones? Well, yeah, I will be I think if I start selling my stuff, I say if, when I know it's just a matter of when I start selling my stuff, I'm going to be very lackadaisical, meaning like, you know what? If I'm making a few bucks on this and it's going to a good home, so be it. But when it comes to two candles, the original release of Witch's Brew and the first Halloween housewarmer jar, Halloween, I'm going to be a little bit greedy. Just because to get those two took me just short of 15 years to get them in my presence. To smell them took me 15 years. I never actually held one in my hand during that time frame. And I feel like it's the heart and soul of those two candles of at least my Halloween collection. But that brings up a good point. If there's anybody out there who's serious about acquiring those candles or any of the candles that I have, Candle Enthusiast at yahoo.com. Candle Enthusiast at yahoo.com. One more time. Candle Enthusiast at yahoo.com. Make like the heading on the email bold or something so I don't miss it. Send me a message. And like, don't have to be bashful. If you want to offer like $15 for a candle, I still want to hear from you. Like I said, though, Virgil, because Virgil is the one said dibs on the Holy Grail Halloween candle. What I would love is to, again, sell the whole collection in one piece. I know that's never going to happen, but even if I had to break it off in portions, like if the Halloween could be sold as one bundle, I'd take a cut of what I could probably make if I sold them individually. Because maybe I wouldn't make as much money, but knowing that they were going to, a legit collector, that's enticing to me. It just thinking about separating them all. It's like there's like 1,000 brothers and sisters, and you're just separating them and just sending them all over the world. There's something heartbreaking about that. Virgil says, I will be pulling out my 401k for the Halloween collection. Well, I don't know, Virgil, you have a pretty great collection already, and it's only been a short period of time, right? Virgil has got like one of these storage shelves like I have with like every Kringle. I hope it's okay that I'm sharing this. Every Kringle Halloween candle, like ever, including some that I believe, yeah, Virgil, you bought a couple from me, right? So you have some from my personal collection. Um, yeah. All right, let's do another can. I'm still excited about this one. Snow Dusted Woods. All right, I got essentially three more. Every other one I've at least addressed. I have four. Here's one. Let's change up the color because snow can be bright red as well. That's a very pretty red. You know, it's got the brighter parts, but then like down here, the deeper red, right? Nice marbleization. Those sparkles, sparkle, sparkle. Look at that. It looks juicy. Look at that. Look at that. I just want to take a straw, stick it in that little pool, go. It wouldn't taste good, but it looks like it would. Yankee Candle. Christmas. Cherries on snow. This is a special one. It's still around. It's still around. I feel like it's dying, but it's, it put up a good fight. Um, uh, you know, I'll be the first to admit that I'm not a big cherry candle person. It's hard to get cherry right. Um, and when it's done right, it's not necessarily always recognizable as cherry. But this one was fun. And these like cherries that look like are right out of like a cherry jar for ice cream are so appropriate because that's exactly what it smells like. That's the kind of cherry that we're dealing with. It's that medicinal, candy-fied, old-fashioned candy, hard candy cherry. But the thing about this that is absolutely insane is this ice. Now, this is a candle that I typically will say cherries on ice, cherries on snow. I kind of mix it up because I can never remember. But for sure, um, the reason I say ice or get it confused is not just because it's on the label. Like that doesn't really look like snow. That looks like ice. Is because it smells like ice. How on earth is that possible, you might ask? And what is it? That's good. Like that's really good. I'm not a fan of cherry, as I've said. That is a bubbly, sweet cherry, not really tart. I can feel like I get a little bit of the skins or the tartness of the cherry pit, but really this is all about like that hard candy cherry lollipop that you used to get at your pediatrician's when you were a child. Or maybe you still go to your pediatrician. I don't know. But big cherry, juicy, juicy cherry, cherry on top. But this ice, you know, if someone said this candle smelled icy and I smelled it, I would expect to be like, okay, there's a cooling sensation to this candle. Maybe it's a little bit minty. Maybe it's got, a little bit of pine in there, like blue spruce can have this mentholated quality. Something in there that makes it feel cooling. A little bit of that Vicks Vapor Rub feeling. But there's not much of that. There's a little bit. It does feel like the inside of my nostrils are cooling down, like getting a little bit cold when I smell that. But it's not like not Vicks Vapor Rub cooling. And it took a long time for me to really identify what it is about this candle that smells like ice. And I think I got it. It may not sound pretty, may not sound exciting, but if you have this candle, pick it up off the shelf and smell it with me. It smells like murky ice cubes in the freezer. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You know what that smell is. Maybe you haven't defrosted your freezer in a long time, and let's say you keep it relatively clean and it's not really disgusting. Like there's not like ice cream sandwiches, frozen to the side of your freezer. But you're starting to get all of this, accumulation of frozen ice on the surface area of your freezer. That murky, icy smell. It's in here. I don't know how to explain what that is, but it's in here. And with that slight cooling sensation, like it's not cooling in here, it's cooling in here in the nasal passages. It is such a fun, very, very, very fun candle. And it just does not get the time of the day that it deserves. It never did. But I know that there are some hardcore fans of this particular fragrance. And I know who you are. And for good reason. So even if you're not a cherry fan, even if you really want a snowy white candle, if this one is available, whether it's online, eBay, or if you find it in the newer updated jar, give it some time and smell it. It's not super complex, but you know, it's good to know that some of these candles are really thought about. They weren't all just made in haste. Thank you, Dale. I appreciate your comment very much. I do. Sometimes I say things and it doesn't sound sincere. Uh, all right, what else can we do here? Here's an ugly candle. I'll tell you why it looks ugly right now, and that's because this candle joined me on one of my videos from uh, the early portion of last year. I can say that now, last year. Uh, Camping in a snowstorm. I don't know when it was. I did that video, March maybe. But I brought this candle and a couple others along. So this accompanied me in a snowstorm in a tent in upstate New York. And it was a pleasure. And the whole tent smelled like it for the rest of the time, even though I only had it lit for a short while. It's called Winter Garden. Let's get a close look there. I should be using another camera and not my iPad, but the iPad does a wonderful job catching the focus. I would always have to, like, you can get really close, and that's a little soft, but it gets it, and it's a wide angle lens, so it kind of bends around the label. I recommend the iPad for live streaming. I do. Winter Garden. I don't know what that vegetation is, but I see that it has some ice crystals on it. It's not snow, some ice crystals. What is it that we're looking at here? Who can tell me? Winter Garden. Yes. Yes. This is a good one. I was looking for Winter Glow. I couldn't find it, but I'm like, oh, you know what? I have Winter Garden. Let me grab that one right before I started the live. And I'm glad I did because, you know, what are we noticing from all the candles that we talked about? There's a lot of repetition. Right. There, there's always going to be repetition when you're doing a candle of a certain genre. But how can you mix it up? How can you really make it stand out? This is a complex candle. It's not. It doesn't really have the mint in it. Well, let's see. it's not worth the effort of trying to go into a minty, but there's this word right here is very important. Garden, herb garden. So although there might be a vague hint of fresh mint, I'm not going to go there. What I do want to talk about are things like rosemary, in an interesting way too, because as much as I want to say like fresh rosemary, it kind of there's something fun about McCormick's dried rosemary. So let's say dried herbs, rosemary, little bit of basil in there. Maybe you got like a mediocre jar of dried basil. Like it's not super aromatic out of the jar. Yeah. So it's not up here. It's here, but it's still there. Um, Rosemary, let's say bay laurel, definitely in there. That really is adding to not just a green smell, but like kind of an earthy smell. Sage. I mean, do we want to just say parsley, sage, rosemary, and thyme? We could probably skip the parsley. And thyme may be a little bit redundant, but I don't think so. There's a savoriness about thyme that I want to include. It's mainly that rosemary, but let's get it in there. So, with all of these herbs, it takes on what I would call an autumn phase 3 scent, like a Thanksgiving bounty, just November dinner, November in the country kitchen smell. It goes there, but we have the contrasting label, the wax. There is that savoriness of those herbs, but what it does is it transitions to, it's hard because I've smelled it too much. It's a classic mistake. If we smell too much, you become desensitized. It's going into the hearth, the herbs into the hearth. And by the hearth, I mean the slightly toasted, slightly roasted, um, uh, split firewood in the fireplace. A little bit of that sweet ashy, little sweet ash in the fireplace. The smoke is also sweet. There's a smokiness that something I've been saying since the start of this channel. Smoke was once here. There's a smell of, wow, that's smoky, and there's a different experience where you're like, I sense that there was smoke here at some point. It's the latter. Smoke was once here. So it with the wood, with the smoke, that rosemary blending, the rosemary herb is also kind of pulling with the wood. It it pulls in the coniferous trees. It pulls in the pine tree, right? It pulls in the Christmas tree, the balsam. Um, that um, you know, if I said this smells like a Christmas tree, it would just be redundant. But that doesn't mean our associations won't include the Christmas tree. This is really good. That basil's coming through a little bit more. It's kind of going into that black licorice territory that basil can sometimes go. And there's a nice sweetness, but I don't know if I can keep saying this with a little bit of I'm not going to commit to this fully, but I'm just going to go with it. If you want to think of the sweetness as like a genuine maple syrup, it's that thing that we smell that's like, ooh, that smells like wooden, that smells like outdoors, but that also smells like pancakes, it smells like breakfast. It confuses the brain. Maple, especially, because it's so sweet, uh, it kind of bridges that territory from the outdoors to in the kitchen. And that's what's happening here. And it's free from, no, it's not. It's not at all. And I'm surprised I haven't said it already. Cinnamon. So yeah, so there's cinnamon, predominantly cinnamon, rosemary, um, and that maple syrup that really, if they had to choose only three, those would be the three things, but plenty of wood, a little bit of sweet smoke, sweet ashy, all of those herbs, parsley, sage, rosemary, and thyme. That's a good candle. Whatever happened to it, Yankee? Yankee. I'm looking off to the side of the camera. Let me look there. Yankee. What happened to some of these? As far as I know, that was only available 1 year. And that magical year would have been 2014, and then he took it away. He took it away, Yankee. Hey, Yankee, do you remember this candle? New proprietors of Yankee, do you remember that? Why am I being so cynical? I just turned like into a very cynical Yankee Candle consumer. I love Yankee, but I do wonder sometimes if the current proprietors of Yankee Candle Company, it's not even called the Yankee Candle Company anymore, it's called the Yankee Candle, if they know about some of these nuggets from their own past. We talked about this one maybe a month ago. This was something that was surely, maybe I shouldn't say surely, but I put money on it. That was a South Deerfield exclusive, flagship store exclusive. Wouldn't have been called the Yankee Candle Village back then. It would have been called the Yankee Candle Country Store. And they had a lot of these, just kind of, they wasn't a separate line. It was just before Yankee established what the house warmer was all about. The house warmer more or less came in 1995, but the apothecary jars were around. Sometimes they looked like the classic, sometimes they looked like something else, but more or less the apothecary jar has been around for Yankee at least through 1977 till current day. And Alpine Run, and a very interesting choice of color. I like it. I like how the wax matches the snow gear of the skiers. We have maybe some Vermont ski action on this label, and doing my best, just with recognition of these bottom labels. Ooh, here's another token. Look at that price. $15.95, and that's not like sold at a separate store. That's Yankee Candle label, original label, $15.95. Folks, they were never cheap. They were never cheap. That's a lot of money for how old this is. I mean, this would be about, if it doesn't have the barcode, we're talking like early 90s at this point. And look at the embossed Yankee Candle Company that's on the lid. When we get really old, these plastic gaskets change. That's fun, man. That's fun. Again, with the label, with the smell, I'm just going with it. Ski lodge, more specific. Sweater, like you got a tacky sweater. Maybe it's not tacky. It's just very of a certain style, like a very nice LL Bean sweater, turtleneck, long sleeves. Of course, it's long sleeves. You have a short sleeve sweater. sure they exist. But anyway, a very pretty or masculine sweater by the fire, sipping some kind of cocktail, like mulled apple cider, or maybe, I don't know. To me, that doesn't sound. Actually, what sounds great is like a nice, refreshing gin tonic on a nice wintry day. I'm a drink a cold. I'm a cold beverage drinker in cold weather. I know it's weird. Um, but the gin cocktail is a good thing to bring up because it's got those herbal, peppery, earthy qualities and a little bit of citrus that we get from distilled gin. There is apparently some peppermint, peppermint, right? Peppermint, right? What's happening to my speech? It's peppermint, right? Yeah, I think that's fine. There's a vague sense of peppermint. It's obviously probably diminished throughout the years, but yeah, it has a little like sawdust, you know, maybe not sawdust, but like you're sanding down a nice piece of old furniture, like mahogany, or just a big chunk of like teak wood, and you have that powdered wooden essence that's floating in the air. And with that citrus, with those herbs, it does go into a very mild and pleasant cologne territory. And that's what brought me to the sweater. Like, the sweater smells freshly laundered, but it also has some fragrance on it, not strong, but and it dips into all those territories: the citrus, the herbal, the woody, and honestly, for this candle being about 30 years old, give or take a few years, I can sense that it's, you know, these candles never really peak with age, but yet there's a point where you can smell a little bit of the funk of this candle's too old. And it's only a little bit, though. It's only a little bit in here. I think mainly the profile of this candle is just mild. Its volume went down over the years, and there's that tinge of something in the background that tells you this candle is pretty old. It's a very peculiar smell. It's if anyone's interested, it's kind of like a briny, like a pickle juice brine, you know, little vinegary, um, but very much like a saline solution with really old candles that don't age well, especially Yankee candles. You get it a lot. But here it's just a little bit. And it's actually, once you get used to that smell, it's actually quite pleasant. I wouldn't burn this, but if I had to, I would be excited to. We've done it. Let's recap. We never recap. We've talked about Winter Garden. We've talked about cherries on snow. We've talked about Alpine Run. We didn't talk about, I missed this one, Snowberry. But I did talk about that on a previous live not too long ago. Peppermint bark, we talked about. Sparkling snow, we addressed for a short minute. All is bright. I've made myself excited by talking about this candle. Almost wish I had a spare to burn. Winterland. I think I might have a spare. Season of Peace misprint. Jack Frost. Regular snow, Season of Peace. And then the snow is glistening. And then we started off with Snow Magic and Snow Days, the labels alone. These are from 2003, some younger black bands. And I don't know if I showed this as a cap up or recap. Snow Dusted Woods. So there you go. Some post holidays, post Christmas, post New Year's Day fragrances to really kick off the winter in a refreshing way, right? Like it's too early to be tired of the winter season already. It's far too early. We need to embrace it for at least a couple more months. And I think all of these were great options, but there's so many. I mean, there's so many options that I'm just looking at as I'm looking around the studio that I could talk about and throw into this selection. So be creative with it. You know, never just consider that just because it doesn't look snowy or it doesn't look wintry on the label, that it doesn't work. A little trick of mine, something that's great for the months of January and February, especially like once you get into February, because you have some distance between the holidays as you get to February. Like dip back into autumn phase three, things that you would burn in the first portion of November. Like that, like right now, I think here I am burning, oh, what's the name of it? I can't think of the name. It's a 2017, 2008. It's like a pumpkin spice thing. It was one that had like the ornate pumpkin on it. It was a white pumpkin and it was all bedazzled. It's in there right now. And it works really well. Like you think you're just coming out of autumn and early part of winter, that you have to move away from this. You don't. Autumn phase three, those November fragrances don't get enough play because people, really, really are aggressive with Halloween. And then they're so quick to start up Christmas as soon as Halloween's over that there's such a big, big selection of candles, of the warm, bounty, golden, delicious, Maillard reaction toasted candles that get forgotten about. And now is a good time to dip back into them. Um, and maybe, a nice coffee cake crumble would go great with one of these more floral fabric softener profiles of some of the candles that we talked about. The part in the camping in the tent, the snow was great. Juniper berry. Adam. um, you know, it's hard enough that I have a very, very difficult time reading aloud. Like that's a thing, and I have it. But when I'm reading like social media blurbs, we're all casual with social media, with just no period. But why do we need a punctuation? We don't need it. Uh, um, but it just makes it harder for me to read out loud. I loved the candle Christmas time. Awesome, right? Like it doesn't sound so brilliant now, but when it came out, Christmas time, like time as in the herb, the herb, the I don't know why I said it that way, but the what was I trying to say? Oh, but the play on words, Christmas time, herbs. That was a good one. Um, Trying to remember the color. I mean, remember the aroma, but the colors on the label and the wax, stark contrast, the green and the red. And like, I believe there was some gold ornaments on the label, if I'm not getting it mixed up with another one. Um, Not super pretty, but it was a good candle. And it was one that you know, from the original collection that it was a part of, did resurface from time to time. And then I think it went to the European crowd. So it got some time in the sun. All of this talk of pancakes and breakfast is making me hungry. Welcome to my life. There's absolutely no one that can talk about Yankee Candle and all of the expressions and nuances of fragrance like Shane. Ah, that is actually very sweet. I appreciate these comments, guys. I do. Greetings from Yankee Candle, UK. Speak of the devil. Speak of the devil. Um, oh no, see, that was meant as a joke. Is it a joke? Robert Wells. Are you from the UK? Are you making a joke? I'm not good. I'm not good at a lot of things get to me too late and I miss the joke. But welcome either way, Robert. Have we been introduced? I'm not a devil. And yes, he says, yes, I am from there, meaning the UK. Um, very cool, Robert. Glad to have you today. Happy New Year's to you. If I missed anyone in the comments, I apologize. Um, let's just talk about a couple things. Some of the things, some of these I'm repeating. One is, what do you got going on right now? Like, I can't hang out anymore, but how about check out that Santa's Village video? Like, I filmed for 3 days. I suppose one of them was a travel day, just footage I haven't used, but it took me like four days to edit, and a part of that was like the night between Christmas Eve and Christmas. Check it out. Check it out for a couple minutes. Uh, and what else? Yeah, so 2013 or 2013, 2023. Try again. A lot of changes are coming. It's too, like I said, my life is different. I'm transitioning to a different location, but yeah, things are just big question mark right now. And of 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 being instead of being terrified, I'm trying to be uh, excited about all of the unanswered questions that I have. I don't know a lot of things about little, short little future, like, a month, 2 months, couple of years. I have no idea, but I think and this goes for all of us. I think we can become overwhelmed and scared by changes, things that were maybe forced into, wouldn't necessarily be our choice. Um, but, this is when you really have to look at the name of this channel and remember what it's all about. I'm saying this for myself, and I'm saying it for maybe you can relate in some small way or some big way of, big changes for 2023, changes that maybe you don't necessarily want to come. You got to live enthusiastically. Um, it's something that is such an easy thing to say, but it's very hard to live by. But the concept is quite simple. You know, if we could somehow manage a way to look at the challenges and changes in our life and be enthusiastic about them, turn that nasty adrenaline, that stress, into something that's a little bit more thrilling and exciting. Good example, and a big shout out to my buddy, lifelong buddy, my friend Lee. We were like best friends. Like, we were always together in high school. And I have no doubt that people from our high school, when they think about one of us. They think about both of us. But he was so good at things that I wasn't good at, and I was pretty great at things that he struggled with. We were perfect yin and yang. But I remember very vividly the weeks leading up to, mainly the days, really leading up to our senior, probably both homecoming and prom. And I just remember being so terrified and talking to Lee, like, I'm crippled. I can't ask anybody to the prom. Like, I don't know if it's rejection that I'm worried about, but it just makes my whole body sick. I can't even think about it. And he would just say, like, well, yeah, I feel that too, but it's exciting. I'm like, what do you mean it's exciting? It's terrifying. He's like, I don't know. I feel the adrenaline. This is Lee talking now. He's like, I feel the adrenaline. I feel, that this is very risky, going up to someone and asking them their prom, but I'm excited about it. I'm like, I don't get that. But I really think that that was a life lesson that was brought to my attention quite early, that Lee and I were both experiencing the same kind of, trauma that comes in your life at that age. Only Lee managed to twist it and bend it in a way that was enthusiastic, that was exciting, that, it was something that he actually looked forward to, even though it brought up a lot of the same symptoms that I had. Now, I can't say that I truly learned what Lee was able to do way back in those days. I still get stage fright. I still get nervous. I get nervous when I pick up the phone and have to make a phone call. But I suppose it's that reminder to look at these things that stress us out, the things that worry, the things that make us feel claustrophobic, and say, is there a way I can be enthusiastic about this? Is there a way that I can use the adrenaline that this situation's given me and use it to my benefit? And I do believe there's a way to do that. So if you guys need a little bit of Shane wisdom for the new year 2023, it's going to be some old advice, something I've been saying for 6 years now. Remember to live enthusiastically. It's just I don't know. You want to just say it to yourself in the morning. Maybe you add it to your daily prayers, whatever it is that you do. If you live by it, I can't promise anything, but I can say for sure that it has, living by those words has enhanced my life and has brought a tremendous amount of joy to my life, including all of you folks. So, with that, I want to wish everyone a very happy New Year's. Make this year wonderful for you. Spend a little bit extra time making yourself happy, bringing joy into your own life. Create those memories, tell those stories, and light up a candle, get a hot beverage, put on some Netflix. Do we watch Netflix still? I guess Wednesday, the show is pretty hot right now. I don't have Netflix anymore. But watch whatever it is that makes you feel warm and cozy. Read those books. And I will be seeing you folks soon. But until then, remember to always live enthusiastically. I'll see you folks soon. Thank you very much, guys. Happy New Year. What happened? I'm still here. Crazy.